DThang wasn't the only one in Durk's family tree who was claiming dog pound, as his late cousin and OTF artist Nuski, who was seemingly very close with Durk and DThang throughout his childhood, would also claim this set, while also being closely affiliated with another set called Face World 079. Even the music video for Durk's first nationwide hit, This Ain't What You Want, was filmed in the dog pound's hood, as can be seen from the street sign of Green Street at the beginning of the video. Growing up, DThang would have two best friends, Chino and SB, who were both from the eastern side of the south side, with at least Chino allegedly being part of the THF-46 gang set located in the so-called low end. Fortunately, almost since the start, OTF would experience some major setbacks. In May 2014, only a few days after signing his deal with the label, Durk's cousin Nuski, aka Nunu, real name MacArthur Swindle, would be gunned down in Chicago, and as was the custom at the time, DJ Academics would soon report on Nuski's death in his highly sarcastic style as part of his War in Chirac YouTube series.
It's your boy DJ Academics. Restart the first 48 clock, start pressing up RIP t-shirts, because I gotta ask, is there heaven for a Chirac savage? It is with great sadness, great shock, great disbelief that I have to announce that OTF Nunu has been caught lacking at the mall and is now deceased. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please be warned, the following story is very graphic in detail and the involved is at maximum levels.
Following Nuski's passing, some of his friends would begin to call themselves Nuski Gang or Nuski World in his honor. Many of these friends seemingly residing particularly in the Face World 079 hood. Nuski's killer has never been caught, but online drill detectives have commonly held one man in particular responsible, this being 051 Melly, one of the most infamous people in drill music history. While practically being from different sides of the south side, Durk being from Lamron and Melly being from 051 Young Money, Durk had ultimately gotten involved in a serious beef with Melly's set through Lamron's affiliated sets, such as 600, who were in a deadly beef with 051 at the time. There'd also been some people killed in the dispute between Lamron and 051 even before Nuski's passing, with a Lamron member called OJ allegedly having been involved in the murder of an 051 member called Fathead, together with 600 members in 2012, while 051 on the other hand had allegedly killed Durk's good friend and a member of Lamron called Lil Rob in 2013. Melly's friend and 051's top rapper, Lil Mark, would also directly diss Lamron and Tay-Town in his March 2014 remix of Durk's song Competition, titled No Competition, rapping how he was smoking Tasky Pack, whom Tay-Town was named after, as well as Lil Rob, before saying that he's 300k and die L's, with L of course standing for Lamron. Only days after dropping the diss song, Lil Mark would be tragically killed at a bus stop, allegedly by Lil Durk's friends, one of these rumoured to have been King Von himself. And after this, Durk would diss Lil Mark in 600 rapper E-Day's remix to the song War, saying how he was smoking on him. Durk would also film a highly disrespectful video of himself at that very bus stop where Mark had been killed. Nuski had also gotten into an online beef with Melly's good friend and Durk's former friend Krump, who had a bitter falling out with OTF sometime in 2013. And following Nuski's death, Krump would film himself at Nuski's death site, even saying that he was at the scene with Nuski's killer, making many believe that this person was indeed Melly. Less than a year after Nuski's death, OTF would suffer another major blow, as OTF Chino, real name Uchenna Agina, would be gunned down in March 2015, while sitting in his car outside of a fast food spot in the 8400 block of Stony Island Avenue, after he had taken part in an anti-violence event. Nuski and Chino's deaths were devastating for DThang, as he would often let his followers know on social media. Chino's murder also remains unsolved, but once again, the same two people, Melly and Krump, would be associated with the hit, with Krump being the one to diss Chino the hardest, again going to the murder location and asking the cashier at the food shop if they had an order for Nuski, calling his meal of choice the Chino burger.
Hey, y'all got that order for Nuski? Chino burger. Chino burger.
Meanwhile, only a few days after Chino's murder, Melly would tweet a tribute to his fallen friend Lil Mark, together with a cryptic line that indicated that Melly had gotten some kind of get back for Mark. Melly was also fond of dissing both Nuski and Chino on social media, and he too would join in on Crump's burger joke during one of his Instagram lives.
Just like me a piece.
Yeah, Chino burger, that's what they said.
Krump would continue dissing Nuski and Chino, sometimes aiming his words directly at DThang, commenting under his tribute post to Chino in 2017 how DThang was the reason that Chino was dead, while Lil Durk was the reason that Nuski was dead. Clearly, Durk and DThang were big targets for their enemies in the streets who had already killed people close to both of them. According to Durk and DThang's mother, DThang himself would end up getting shot twice between 2016 and 2017, but little is known about these incidents. Fortunately, he would seemingly survive both events with relatively little injuries. Krump, however, wouldn't be so lucky, and in May 2018 he would meet his end as he was gunned down in front of a house party during a drive-by shooting, where Melly would allegedly also get hit but survive. The killers have never been caught, but the most popular theory online, surprisingly, points to the rivals of OTF, particularly a member of the STL EBT set called Can't Get Right, aka Get Right or Man Man. This theory being further boosted by the claim that another STL member, the infamous shooter Wooski, was allegedly later caught with Krump's murder weapon. However, this claim has seemingly been debunked by the YouTuber Loyalty and Betrayal.
Let's just be clear. Wooski was never arrested with a gun. He was arrested because he shot somebody in the leg twice who didn't want to press charges or whatever. But he was not arrested with the gun. The gun, the shell casings that they found, that they said with that shooting, that they are, I guess, assuming go with that incident, being how the guy moved, the gun obviously moved. So I'm not sure how they matched that up to say that belonged to that. But it matched the gun that was found 10 days later after Wooski was arrested. So Wooski didn't get arrested with the gun. So all those videos have false information.
Only a few months after the death of Mubu Krump, Durk would experience yet another loss that would hit very close to home, as his cousin Darnell Banks, better known as OTF Baby D, was killed in a shooting in the far south side of Chicago in October 2018. But this wasn't the whole story, as Baby D was not alone at the time of the shooting, but allegedly with DThang, whose age at the time matches that of one of the victims reported by local news, as well as another 32-year-old man. The trio would reportedly get ambushed in a McDonald's parking lot shortly before 3 AM, all of them sustaining multiple gunshot wounds, but thankfully DThang would end up surviving once again, together with the 32-year-old man. In her memoir, DThang and Durk's mother would confirm him being one of the victims of the shooting, writing how this had been one of the most serious out of all of the shootings that DThang had survived, and how Baby D's death would leave him heartbroken. Baby D's murder would go unsolved, but Melly's name would once again begin to ring in online speculations, as photos would begin to circulate of one of Baby D's cousin wearing a Long Live Baby D shirt with a large F Melly text boldly printed on the front, together with a picture of him. Durk would also seemingly begin to diss Melly often in his songs following Baby D's death, like saying how there is one special op that they haven't killed yet in his July 2019 song Like That, or even specifically addressing the person who killed his cousin in his August 2019 song Die Slow, this likely being a reference to either Newski or Baby D, while seemingly giving an order to his guys to make sure that he dies slowly. Shockingly, exactly 1 month after the release of this song, 051 Melly would be killed on the south side of Chicago while attending a house party at the 6100 block of St. Lawrence Avenue, this being in the hood of the Jaro City and Taekwon World sets. But despite the peculiar timing, Durk would seemingly have nothing to do with Melly's death, as his killer would allegedly turn out to be someone with a personal vendetta against Melly, a Taekwon World member called 007 Nate, real name Nathaniel Hicks, whose house Melly had allegedly shot up leading up to the killing. However, the evidence against Nate would ultimately not meet the burden of proof beyond reasonable doubt, and despite the facts that he was apparently identified as the shooter by multiple witnesses, and seen entering the house with a gun and then fleeing the house after the shooting, and being eventually caught a few days later with the murder weapon still on him, it didn't stick. FBG Duck's murder was allegedly part of a long-running beef between two gang sets from the south side of Chicago. Duck's set, STL EBT, sometimes referred to as 63rd or Tukaville, largely identify as gangster disciples. On the other side is O Block, who are primarily black disciples, this being the set where the majority of Duck's convicted killers hail from. A deadly feud between these two factions, who exist just a stone's throw away from each other, stretches back more than a decade, particularly throughout the 2010s, when this feud would claim the lives of many young men in the area, with Redditors speculating that at least 10 people lost their lives in this deadly beef. But to understand exactly how Lil Durk became part of this beef, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. Some of the first mentions online about the beef between STL EBT and O Block, or Wick City as it was known then, date all the way back to the early 2010s, although likely the beef had already started in the late 2000s. However, as already alluded to earlier, this war was never just between these two sets, but rather between numerous gang sets whose affiliations and rivalries were commonly based on their overarching gang identities, these being the Gangster Disciples and the Black Disciples, or the GDs versus the BDs, with sets like O Block, Lamron, 600, Front Street, and TYMB being clicked up on the BD side, while sets like STL, EBT, Jaro City, Taekwon World, MOB, and Brick Squad would form an alliance on the GD side. And it was his next diss song which would be one of his most disrespectful ones yet, and unfortunately also his last song, the infamous track Dead. Durk would begin the song by immediately announcing that the Chicago Legends track was nothing but business, before going straight back to dissing dead people from the BD side. Durk would also acknowledge Von mentioning his brother Brick in the song Took Her to the O, saying that Brick had been slinging dope when Von was still doing kid stuff like swimming and fishing, before dropping some more highly disrespectful bars about dead members from sets like 600 and O Block. Unfortunately, the rest is history. certainly increased the size of the target on Duck's back, but regardless at this point, he was the most high-profile GD rapper from 63rd and probably the biggest trophy in the streets for his ops. Sadly, in August 2020, about a month after releasing that song, Duck would end up getting brutally gunned down by members and affiliates of O-Block in a brazen, broad daylight attack in Chicago's most upscale shopping district, located in the Gold Coast neighborhood, right in front of the Dolce & Gabbana store. Now, if you want to see a deep dive all into the details of the murder of FBG Duck and the aftermath, you can go and check out my 2.5-hour video just on that topic. But for the purpose of this video, let's keep things brief and focused on Durk's connection to the crime. Because right after Duck's murder, Durk would once again be caught right in the middle of an Instagram live when fans would begin to barrage him with comments about Duck's passing, with Durk acting like nothing had ever happened, showing himself hopping off a private jet in good spirits while completely ignoring the imploring messages about the death of his biggest enemy.
See fans make a plan, watch the score in the mail. 39 years I heard them crying to sell. Boy, getting money right up. I took a picture on my block, they think I'm back in the field.
Von, on the other hand, would come out with the most unconvincing statement, trolling the whole world, saying how the two had settled their differences right before Duck's passing, even adding sarcastic lines about how he was going to be thinking of Duck every step of the way, and also making snide remarks about how Duck had been dissing his dead friends and family members. Meanwhile, as time went on, the feds would get involved in Duck's murder investigation and track down the entire route that the killers had taken to the murder scene, tracing their origin back all the way to O-Block, with surveillance footage literally filming the entire crime, with them driving from O-Block to the murder, committing it, and then driving back again. However, even with all of this evidence, it would be over a year before the feds would even be able to move in with their indictment. But eventually, in September 2021, the feds would indict 5 people for the murder of Duck. Charles Liggins, aka C Murder, Kenneth Robertson, aka Kenny Mac, DeCarlos Offord, aka Los, Christopher Thomas, aka C-Thang, and Marcus Smart, aka Muwop, as well as another man, Ralph Turpin, aka Teasy, who had been the person that spotted Duck and gave up his location. With such a clear trail left behind by the so-called O-Block 6, also known as the Sloppy 6, it was inevitable that they would also eventually be found guilty, and all 6 are ultimately facing mandatory life sentences, while a 7th person associated with the murder, Zell Munna from O-Block, would sadly end up taking his own life before the FBI could indict him. However, during and after the trial, the discussion would also focus on the possible culpability of Von and Lil Durk in Duck's murder, particularly as the prosecution's legal documents would claim that Turpin, aka Teasy, had allegedly called someone after he spotted Duck in the shopping district, asking around to get put in contact with Lil Durk's brother and manager, DThang, who was coincidentally no longer alive by the time these arrests took place. The indictment would also mention a person named as Individual E, who pretty clearly appears to be Lil Durk, being listed as a high-ranking member of the BDs, with these details suggesting that even the FBI wasn't ruling out the possibility of Lil Durk's personal involvement in the hit on FBG Duck, but avoiding naming him specifically. In fact, based on these documents, some YouTubers would even claim that DThang would have been indicted too if he hadn't been killed in June 2021. Furthermore, it would be revealed that there had allegedly been up to a $100,000 bounty placed on Duck's head leading up to the murder, with many pointing out to a vlog filmed in O-Block a couple months before the murder took place that showed Von giving out wads of cash to other members as potential proof of this bounty being handed down. Furthermore, the person placing this bounty allegedly being someone who bought custom-made chains for O-Block members. Indeed, the Fed's investigation would also focus on the so-called O-Block chains that King Von had actually purchased for many members of his set both before and after Duck's murder, with many of the alleged killers of Duck also receiving one, as Von would apparently spend over $100,000 to buy altogether 16 O-Block chains. The timing of these purchases and the distribution of the chains to prominent members of O-Block, including the alleged killers, appeared to symbolize loyalty and respect within the gang's ranks, as well as possibly being a reward for a job well done with regards to the Duck murder. For example, Muwop could be seen with Von at the jewelry store shopping for additional O-Block chains a mere 6 days after the murder, while others like C Murder could also be seen posing with the chain on his social media just a few days after the murder. Interestingly, also Lil Durk himself seemingly received one of these chains, while Boss Top was alleged to be one of the leaders of O-Block alongside Von during the trial, with Top actually describing the chain as a hood trophy. But wearing the O-Block chain was by no means Lil Durk's only connection to Duck's murder, because in the years following Duck's passing, Lil Durk would diss FBG Duck several times in his music. For example, in his December 2020 song Redman, Durk would mention how he knows someone who died with a famous name, but his friends still haven't slid for him, this possibly being a reference to the fact that FBG Duck's set, STL-EBT, aka Tukaville, would seemingly not retaliate following his murder, with apparent posts circulating suggesting that Duck's people were frustrated that nobody actually got revenge for him. However, the more clear-cut disses towards FBG Duck would start in early 2021, as Lil Durk would release the brutally named song Should've Ducked, together with Memphis rapper Pooh Shiesty, where Lil Durk raps how he gets so high, he gets high as Duck, a reference to Duck being dead and in heaven. YoungBoy, Quando Rondo, and OTF OTF had a seemingly amicable relationship up to this point. In February 2019, Von and Quando were seen hanging out backstage at a show and filming a skit where Quando actually would diss Von's ops from 63rd Street in Chicago.
I'm saying though, they got 63rd dirty. I'm talking about hey, listen, bro, man, 64, y'all 63rd over there smoking crack.
Things seemed really positive between these two groups, but that was all about to change when a year and a half later, in early 2019, Von would hop on IG Live to call out YoungBoy, claiming that he had lies, or cap, in his raps.
YoungBoy talking about on this song, bro.
What?
He talking crazy on this.
Oh, yeah?
He ain't even like that.
Oh!
On this man. Cap. You got cap in your raps.
However, in August 2019, King Von would surprisingly tweet a welcome home message to YoungBoy following his release from jail. So despite their growing tensions, there appeared to be a brief sense of camaraderie between these groups. Around the same time, Von would actually begin incorporating some of YoungBoy's rhetoric into his own style, further blurring the lines between respect and rivalry. In October, DJ Academics would stir the pot by tweeting that NBA YoungBoy was the realest street rapper to ever emerge since the original Chirac drill era, challenging fans to name another artist who really lived the life they rapped about. Without hesitation, Lil Durk would respond with a suggestion of his own, King Von. In February 2020, King Von suggested that he and NBA YoungBoy had actually worked on music together, even calling on YoungBoy publicly to release the track on Twitter. In a post that seemed to hint that YoungBoy had been holding onto the song and blocking its release, in May, Durk would release his 5th studio album, Just Cause Y'all Waited 2, a sequel to a mixtape that he had dropped back in 2018. This album also containing the song Turn Myself In, which had been originally released in June 2019, just before Durk had been locked up for the alleged incident in Atlanta. The album would debut at number 5 and later became his first album to reach the top 2 on the Billboard 200. But as Durk celebrated his album rollout, King Von would be out instigating the beef and prodding YoungBoy. And in August, he would tweet a cryptic message to his fans, claiming that they wouldn't believe the woman he had just made a hit song with. Later that same day, photos surfaced online of Von with Jania Michelle, the mother of NBA YoungBoy's child, sparking a social media frenzy. Von escalated the drama by insinuating on Twitter that he had a sex tape with Jania and hinting that he could release something that could make someone stop claiming their kids. Jania quickly denied the rumors, attempting to shut down the speculation. However, leaked messages suggested that Von's actions were less about Jania and more about getting under Asian Doll's skin, revealing that his supposed collaboration with Jania was an effort to provoke Asian Doll, who he'd apparently split up with at this point. Asian would quickly dismiss Von's claims as lies, asserting that she had found direct messages between Von and Jania before they split up, just adding more fuel to the fire.
Oh, nah, I've seen that in them DMs. I've been seeing it. She's lying. I've been seeing it. Been on dick. I've been seeing it. None of this not a surprise. This is just on the internet right now, you know what I'm saying? I've been new.
The very next day, NBA YoungBoy would respond with an Instagram post aimed squarely at Von, and in a shocking move, YoungBoy captioned the post with a vow to make sure that his son sleeps with King Von's daughter, turning the trolling into a deeply personal and slightly weird attack. Amid the escalating tension, Durk and Von's longtime friend, from back in the days when OTF was something more than just a rap collective, Lil Reese, would enter the beef too, tweeting a bold threat that he planned to beat up Quando Rondo, a close friend of YoungBoy and an artist on his NBA label, to which Rondo would respond by saying that Reese and the Chicago rappers in general wouldn't do nothing.
Man, this gang gonna do nothing to me.
At this point, the beef between Von and YoungBoy had now broadened to include numerous people from both sides, and in September 2020, King Von would tweet what appeared to be a direct threat towards Quando Rondo and NBA YoungBoy, saying that he hoped God had space for both of them. The following day, Quando Rondo's right-hand man, Lil Tim, would fire back on Twitter, warning Von and the other Chicago rappers to think twice before messing with Quando. But Von, unfazed, would respond the day after, saying that he'd been fighting his whole life and he could punch hard as hell. Around this time, Von would also begin publicly claiming that he was single and too focused on his career to be in a relationship. However, he would still be spotted at a club with YoungBoy's baby mama, Jania Michelle.
So just like 2 days ago, Jania was spotted in the club with King Von's sister, and King Von was also there as well. You couldn't see them together, but you know they were together. If you know, you know. 2020 was truly King Von's year. He had dropped 2 successful mixtapes back-to-back, Grandson Volume 1 and LeVon James, and he was priming himself for a blockbuster debut with the much-anticipated project Welcome to O Block coming. But also, by October, Von had shifted
shifted his focus to promoting his new song, Mine Too, a track that was subtly dissing NBA YoungBoy as he would rap about how somebody's girl was Von's too, whilst also mentioning having beef in the NOLA, or New Orleans and Louisiana, the latter being YoungBoy's home state. Also in October, Von would tweet that once a girl lets another man in, he would no longer want her, leading fans to speculate that he was referencing Asian Doll, possibly moving on, and rumours would then begin swirling that Von's ex-Asian Doll had actually met up with YoungBoy, a claim that emerged after DMs from people in YoungBoy's camp leaked. Meanwhile, Durk was going on the musical run of a lifetime. His momentum as a rapper was truly back, partly off the back of the street credibility that he'd received from his collaboration with Von, landing a blockbuster collaboration with rap's biggest star Drake in the form of the song Laugh Now, Cry Later, dropping in August, a track that swiftly went to number 2 on the Billboard charts. And Durk was gearing up to drop his 6th studio album, The Voice, releasing its title track in September 2020, while NBA YoungBoy, on the other hand, was on a generational run in the rap game, releasing back-to-back #1 albums and flooding the market with music in a way that proved that you could provide quality and quantity at the very pinnacle of the rap game. He was also catching cases left, right and center, and he was certainly one of the realest, if you will, gangster rappers to have ever done it, especially at that level at this point. But YoungBoy was also still being petty and entertaining the beef. He would actually release a snippet in early November of a song that he had apparently recorded with Asian Doll with the threatening title Meet the Reaper, clearly taking a deadly hint towards this beef with Von, a dig which Von would respond to by tweeting that the song was trash and claiming that his and Janeer's collaboration was much better. He would then even hint at having compromising pictures of Janeer, but then later backtracked, saying that he was only joking and that if Asian Doll was happy, then he's happy too. But the song was still trash. In an interview with DJ Academics, Von would downplay the feud with YoungBoy, saying that the internet was blowing it out of proportion.
People told me you and YoungBoy was beefing or something like that. You said something about what happened, Von? What's going on with you, man?
They be saying that a lot. It's like we got the same interests and then you know how the internet will try to make it.
Don't tell me I got problems over girls.
No, it's the internet, gang. It's the you know, they'll try to make it like that because it's the internet. You see what I'm saying? And then you know how females will try to make it like that because they females and they'll try to make it like one motherfucker hard and try to. It be just all type, but it ain't nothing too serious, nothing you should worry about.
Tragically though, Von had no idea just how serious the situation was about to become, and only a few days later, events would escalate far beyond anyone's expectations. As has now been covered extensively in the media, on November 6, 2020, King Von would tragically lose his life in a shooting outside of the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta. The incident, which was captured on security cameras, seemingly began from Von initiating a fight with Quando Rondo. This unprovoked sucker punch would immediately descend into a full-blown jumping, and chaos would break out between Von and Quando's entourages, during which time Quando's right-hand man Lil Tim would quickly exit a car that he was sitting in before calmly going around it and shooting at King Von, who was hit numerous times and would later pass away in the hospital. Adding an eerie layer to this tragedy, Lil Durk would be on Instagram Live when the news of Von's shooting broke, with fans flooding the comments letting Durk know what had happened, and after seemingly reading these messages, Durk would abruptly end the live. The hours that followed saw a media frenzy as tributes and reactions poured in. Durk took to Instagram to mourn his close friend, sharing a heartfelt post where he simply told Von he loved him. But while Durk was grieving, unfortunately, the internet wouldn't be kind to him, as in the midst of Durk mourning the loss of his friend, who was known as one of Chicago's most feared gangsters, who never let a violation go unchecked, online, the phrase "slide for Von" would become synonymous with Lil Durk amongst fans of drill music. It was only 2 days after Durk hit another career high, releasing his #1 collaboration album with Lil Baby, Voice of the Heroes, during the early morning hours of the 6th of June, when DThang was out partying in the city of Harvey, which is in the far south side of the greater Chicago area. He was reportedly attending a strip club called Club O, located in the middle of the city's industrial district. According to the Chicago Sun-Times, who had seemingly confused DThang to be a rap artist like his brother, they would explain that the shooting that killed DThang involved multiple guns, and even a police officer who was nearby when the shooting started, an officer who would actually get hit in their thigh during the chaos. Unfortunately, DThang would be shot in the head, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. Another OTF member called Trail had seemingly been at the club with DThang, and he too would get shot during the altercation, but would survive, later posting a thank you message to the people who had been concerned about him, as well as paying tribute to DThang and saying that he put his life on the line for him. Soon following DThang's death, there would be another deadly shooting, only an 8-minute drive away from the club, which the police would consider to be a possible retaliation, the victim in this shooting being a 39-year-old named Sanika Price. But there has since seemingly been no updates about this get-back theory. From here, the media and fans would find out about DThang's death, and Reddit would light up with questions and theories, with many wondering why someone as famous and wanted as DThang, who had so much at stake with so many enemies, would risk going out partying at such a risky location Retaliation. The internet would quickly turn into a hub for speculation, as amateur sleuths pieced together their own theories about what might have led to the murder, with some theories speculating that DThang had been killed due to his alleged past as a shooter for his Dog Pound set. These theories revolving particularly around Dog Pound's beef with a set called Dump Street, also known as Gutter Gang or Nate Block, sets that are part of the so-called No Love City alliance formed between numerous majority gangster disciple sets around Inglewood. As mentioned earlier in this video, No Love sets have been beefing with the BD sets from Inglewood, like Lamron and Dog Pound, since at least the early 2010s. Redditors would speculate that DThang's murder was get back for the 2013 murder of a man called 8-Ball, real name Marcus Rush, who was allegedly part of a set called CMB or Crazyville. This set having years-long ties with Dump Street, while having had at least a decade-long beef with the Dog Pound. DThang himself having dissed the set all the way back in 2014, with the wildest theories even claiming that it was DThang himself who had actually killed 8-Ball, while the most attuned drill whisperers would reveal that many members of 8-Ball's set had allegedly been posting tributes to him right after DThang's murder, with some of these tributes still seemingly being available online. However, many would question the rumors about DThang being a killer, as he had always presented himself as more of a businessman than a bona fide shooter, although DThang himself would change his Twitter handle to DThang 2 times in 2017. Now, the number and X combination typically symbolizes in the drill culture the number of bodies a person had caught, with the other DThang from the 600 set using the same combination to seemingly claim 3 bodies. But whether DThang himself had been behind the murder or not, he had certainly been dissing both CMB and Dump Street, aka Gutter Gang, before his death, making sure that he still had enemies in his hometown. DThang had seemingly also indicated that the younger generation of CMB and Dump Street had been dissing Lil Durk and OTF, saying that he doesn't even know them and that all his ops are dead already. And after DThang's death, CMB would seemingly return the favor by posting slick comebacks, as one member would post on his Facebook the morning after how Chief Keef had been the smart one to leave Chicago with all his friends, as they were all still alive, while another member would post how the BDs might run the industry, but the GDs still run the streets. This was followed a few days later with another member posting how they'll get into it with anyone, together with an 8-Ball emoji, while another member would post how all their ops are dead. Meanwhile, some Redditors have claimed that DThang was killed because he had been bragging about putting money on Duck's head while being in the club that was frequented by the GDs. But while Duck at the time had been the face of the gangster disciples in his city, after his murder, one of his close friends would step up to fill the void that he left. This was the rapper FBG Cash, real name Tristan Hamilton. Born on October the 5th, 1990, Cash was several years older than most of his peers in the early drill scene, including his little brother, FBG Young, who was born in 1996. Cash was born into a family of GDs, and with his father being in the streets too, Cash would be exposed to that lifestyle early, jumping off the porch in his grade school years. Durk would release his song Computer Murderers, which appeared to address Cash's photo in front of the Von mural, as Durk warned someone about sneaking pics in front of the mural, like his goons won't come out from O-Block and shoot them. Only a few months later, things would really begin to go wrong for FBG Cash, as the Chicago YouTuber and hip-hop journalist Drea O would later reveal. Cash would do an interview with her sometime in May, where he would reveal that he had recently been in an incident where he and a girl he was with had been shot at while they were in the car during the early morning hours.
Look, so I did right, cause like folks, somebody had just shot me last week, but they were just like so mild.
You got shot.
But it wasn't. Look, it wasn't shot. Look, like look, this what they did. This what they did. Like
did
fuck.
You get shot as bullet fragments?
They bullet fragments. So look, this was the did. I was in the car with them. Hell no. Look.
What's wrong with you?
So like this one is the one that went through the car. I was in the passenger seat. He flamed that bitch up and saw through the front window in the back.
What?
Knocked the back window out, everything. So like.
You were driving and shooting at you?
No, I was in the passenger seat, so that nigga shooting so hard, I couldn't even. It was this female, like. And then I know, I think it was her because like I was at her crib at like 4:20 in the morning. Her just left rap a lot, so I was sitting at her crib. And a guy kept on calling her phone. Call. So I'm like, she's like, oh my God, he steady calling. I'm like, who? She's like, my boyfriend. I'm like, all right. She's like, I hope he don't come over here. So like my girl was sitting right here, but she when you got keys to your crib or something? She was like, yeah, damn, now you see, yeah, I forgot I gave him keys. Don't matter, but I'm like an Instagram model at motherfucker.
Be careful.
Of course now, I'm like, all right, man, we kicking it. So I'm like, yeah, I want to get up out of here. But I had parked my car, so I get in the car with her, boom. So that man, her tent's light as hell, so I raised my seat all the way back. So we got off and we was on my way to my crib there. And she was like, oh my God, why they always on me like that? My gun like this, I always sit on my gun and shit. somebody that's the police. No, they ain't the police. So I looked up just a little bit. Like, oh, ain't the police. Went back on my phone. Boom. Damn. He boom. So I'm like, but I never got back up. I was just like, damn. Cause I thought she was shot. So I was trying to push that out the car. Yeah. Like, boom, 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 boom. I'm trying to push out because I thought she got shot. But I was like, when I see she was like, whoa. I'm like, drive. She drives. I'm like, now I could get my out because that's the only reason I put my because I thought it was the police just in case they stop her. And I'm like, now I'm getting right. But I'm like, damn, what is? She was like, they turned off. I'm like, all right, bet. I'm like, just drive. Directed to my crib. And when I was trying to get up out the car, I had pushed the rest of the window out, like, because the police was coming towards us.
This is not normal. Like, by the way, this is dramatic and crazy. Like,
yeah, but I done been so many people been shot around me.
It's not confirmed who the girl who Cash was with that night, but only a few weeks later, he would find himself in the exact same situation, but unfortunately this time, he wouldn't be as lucky. In what was titled as the last video of Cash alive, he was seen having fun in a recording studio wearing a black hoodie with a green print, and then, in the early morning of the 10th of June 2022, Cash had allegedly been at a nightclub where he had gotten into an altercation with some unknown people. Then, around 5:30 AM, Cash and the woman named Tasha West would be driving in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood, located immediately south of Inglewood. Cash was driving his Ford Edge SUV on the 1600 block of West 81st Street, while the woman was reportedly sleeping in the car at this time. Their destination possibly being Cash's home on the 8100 block of South Marshfield Avenue, which was only about a minute drive away. However, when arriving at an intersection, a black Cadillac would pull up on the car, and two unknown suspects would begin shooting at them. At this point, Cash would attempt to run from the shooters after bailing out the car, but he would eventually collapse on a grass verge next to the sidewalk beside a tree, while the shooters would then flee the scene in the Cadillac. Police and ambulances would arrive at the scene with gruesome pictures of Cash's body on the ground and being loaded into an ambulance, later going viral, with Cash notably being left laying next to that tree. Cash and the woman would be transported to the Advocate Christ Medical Center, where Cash would unfortunately be pronounced dead. The police incident report would later reveal that a total of 23 shell casings were found at the scene, with 14 from a rifle and 9 from a .40 caliber pistol, while the medical examiner's report would reveal that Cash had been struck in the head, neck, back, chest, and legs. Reports also indicated that the shooting went down in 2 phases, with 18 initial rounds being fired, followed by a pause, then another 5 rounds, perhaps suggesting that the shooters wanted to ensure that Cash didn't survive and stood over him shooting to finish him off, with this detail seemingly being referenced by witnesses to the crime, as well as later lyrics that refer to the murder. Rumors would later even circulate, suggesting that Cash's killers might have even tracked him using an Apple AirTag, but following Cash's death, Chiracologists on Reddit would soon begin to react, like posting theories about his ops, such as 600 Breezy possibly dissing Cash by posting a picture of himself smoking on his Instagram story, while another commenter would say how Mimo600 had also posted a similar picture. A day or two after Cash's murder, his cousin and fellow rapper FBG Lil PAB would make several posts dedicated to him, including a video of himself driving around together with the caption implying that he was going to slide for a month straight to get revenge. However, Pat would also make an alleged post and delete story where he could be seen walking in O-Block, which would immediately start theories that O-Block had been responsible for Cash's murder. About a week after Cash's death, Digital Real YouTube channel would post a vlog from O-Block where one of their members can be seen heavily dissing him, which would further boost the theories that O-Block was behind the hit.
Oh, gang only. Dummy, zip him up. Dead on the right. Straight to the wall. Ain't make the hospital. Straight to the wall. The world once supposed to have everybody twice sing everything but the women and everything but the legends. He organ on his cash out, but we ain't crashed out. Oh, gang only.
Meanwhile, Buck Munna, who is part of a set called TSG, who are the younger generation of O-Block, would make a post on his Facebook 2 days after Cash's murder, where he can be seen flexing a stack of money in front of the King Von mural in a very similar photo to the one Cash had taken at the mural just before his death, together with a caption where he would call himself the devil, while in another picture he would be pointing gun fingers towards the ground as if standing over someone whilst killing them with a gun. This flexing raised a lot of eyebrows amongst Redditors. However, it was an Instagram video posted by an O-Block member, T-Money, which would really make fans think that Buck Munna might have been the one who killed Cash, as he had been seen in the video allegedly showing a close-up photo of a body that looks like Cash's. However, it wasn't only O-Block who were hinting at their involvement, as OTF members would also go live 2 days after Cash's death to celebrate OTF DD's birthday. But the celebration of life would seemingly soon turn into a celebration of death, as someone would reference lyrics from Durk's song What Happened to Virgil by then asking, what happened to your mans? While OTF Varney would then reference lyrics from Durk and Pooh Shiesty's Back in Blood song, saying how all of that woofing on the internet had got someone everyone's friend killed, before someone else would repeatedly yell headshot, this also being the chorus of Durk's Computer Murderers song, where Durk would seemingly warn Cash about taking photos in front of the Von mural. Soon, he would get the call and find out the location of the very man King Von was trying to fight with the night he lost his life. And seemingly, exactly like FBG Duck, Quando and his entourage would be the subject of a broad daylight assassination attempt, but the only thing that was different is that this time it took place in California. From what we know at the time, on August the 18th, 2022, Quando Rondo and his close associate and cousin Lil PAB were in Los Angeles, California. Unbeknownst to them, their location was leaked to members of Lil Durk's OTF collective by an unnamed co-conspirator known only at this stage as Number 4. According to the indictment, on August the 18th, 2022, Durk and a member of his OTF collective named Vonnie would fly from Miami to Los Angeles on a private jet to coordinate the murder. Upon arrival, Lil Durk would instruct OTF Boogie to travel to Southern California, whilst OTF DD recruited 2 more shooters named Flocker and Brown Eyes to join the plot, providing their biographical information so that flights could be booked under their names. Lil Durk would apparently even text a warning not to book any flights under names directly linked to him, but this was either ignored or sent too late, as an OTF-linked credit card would indeed be used to purchase flights for DD, Flocker, Brown Eyes, Boogie, and another co-conspirator to travel from Chicago to San Diego on August the 18th. OTF Boogie and others confirmed their travel plans through text messages, including one message from OTF DD to someone on Instagram stating, "On my way to LA." Upon their arrival in Southern California, the group traveled by car to meet OTF Vonnie in Los Angeles. Vonnie would then purchase 4 black ski masks in cash and use another OTF credit card to rent a hotel room at the Universal City Hotel for the group. At this meeting, Vonnie supplied the team with firearms, including fully automatic weapons, and secured 2 cars for their use, a white BMW sedan and a white Infiniti sedan with a fake license plate. The vehicles were then used to follow and track Quando Rondo's movements throughout Los Angeles, including to a hotel in downtown Los Angeles where he was staying, and the next day, on August the 19th, 2022, the group would follow Quando's black Escalade to several locations, including a dispensary on Flower Street and a clothing store on Melrose Avenue. They would track the Escalade to a gas station on Beverly Boulevard, where OTF Boogie drove the Infiniti into an alley behind the station and parked up. Lil PAB and Quando were sitting in the back of a parked tinted black Cadillac Escalade getting some gas on 8489 Beverly Boulevard. As the car was filling up with fuel, just mere seconds later, a flurry of shots would ring out, targeting any and everyone around that car, with law enforcement recovering 18 shell casings on the scene.
It all started at this mobile gas station at 5:30 Friday evening. LAPD says witnesses heard multiple gunshots, then watched a couple cars zoom off. 3 people in one car shot at this black Cadillac Escalade. It's unclear if those inside shot back.
Can I get some space, please?
It ended at Santa Monica Boulevard. Deputies found it peppered with bullet holes and a shattered window. One man inside, a member of Rondo's entourage, had been shot. The 23-year-old was taken to the hospital where he died.
The shooting itself took place just before 5:30 p.m. at a mobile gas station near the popular Los Angeles tourist destination, the Beverly Center. According to police, 3 masked gunmen got out of a white car in dark clothing, with the later indictment identifying Flacker, Brown Eyes, and an unnamed shooter opening fire on Quando's car using firearms provided by Vonnie, including a fully automatic weapon. These gunshots would ultimately hit Lil PAB, who was standing next to Quando's car pumping gas at this point. The attack was described as a professional hit, occurring without any prior argument or confrontation, and after the shooting, the attackers fled the scene in the Infiniti that was being driven by Boogie. After being shot at, Quando's entourage jumped back in the car and attempted to flee, driving a short distance before pulling over to seek medical attention for Lil PAB, and despite efforts to save him, PAB would unfortunately succumb to his injuries and pass away. But to make matters worse, the dramatic scene was captured by bystanders, with footage of Quando breaking down emotionally and screaming no as PAB was taken from the vehicle, with this tragic scene being recorded and broadcast on the news where it ultimately went viral. While Quando was screaming over PAB's dead body, the shooters were celebrating and negotiating their payment, since they didn't actually kill Quando, the intended target. Later that day, the group, including Vonnie, DD, Flacker, Brown Eyes, Boogie, and the co-conspirator, would gather at an In-N-Out restaurant to discuss the attack and the payments for the shooters. Once again, using an OTF credit card, flights were booked for the group to return to Chicago from San Diego, and they flew back that same evening. And after this, other OTF members would post on social media indicating the group's responsibility for the murder, including one post revealing that PAB died of a headshot seemingly before the news even reported it, and another OTF affiliate, Lil Vonnie, tagging Quando and making fun of PAB's death on Instagram. Meanwhile, following the murder of Lil PAB, Quando Rondo announced that he was dropping his affiliation with the Rolling 60s Crips, signaling his intention to step away from gang life. He declared on social media that he was laying down his neighborhood Crip flag and that he wanted to focus on his family and loved ones rather than gangbanging. However, the move was met with backlash from other Crip members, some of whom criticized his departure as a sign of weakness. But despite the criticism, Quando stood by his decision, emphasizing that he no longer wanted to be involved in the gang conflicts that had claimed the life of his close friend Lil PAB. But while Quando was attempting to lie low and remove himself from the gangs and conflicts that had claimed the life of his friend back on Durk's side, having now apparently avenged King Von's death, even with the murder of an innocent affiliate who was just there with Quando, it would seem that Durk and his OTF shooters at this point felt completely untouchable. And after enduring years of slide for Von comments, this apparent get back would be too much for Durk not to mock or comment on. Despite what's now being referred to as an incredibly sloppy and reckless hit with a paper trail that's completely unheard unheard of. From here, over the next 2 years, Lil Durk and his OTF affiliates would go on what I can only describe as a self-snitching extravaganza, releasing song after song and full-blown projects, seemingly claiming responsibility for this murder and boasting about exactly what had gone down that day. As with other murders, Lil PAB's murder would be the subject of many disses, with an OTF group mixtape titled Loyal Bros 2 being released on the 16th of December 2022, just 4 months after the murder of Lil PAB. But beyond the title, the project itself is wall-to-wall with incriminating lyrics that not only hint towards Durk's involvement, but track by track paints a vivid picture of exactly how the events unfolded, with Durk and his collaborators making countless references to the crime and its specific details, openly claiming responsibility for the whole thing.